So something that no one ever does in WMA and HEMA is Pugio, and I know it's pre-manual because everyone will say the reason it's medieval and Renaissance is because of the manuals, and that's why there's no Dark Age or Antiquity WMA in the HEMA community. I get that argument, but I don't know. It just seems like ignoring a whole bunch of systems and arts that are combat arts that seems a bit silly to ignore, in my opinion. But anyway, so there's Pudgio and Gladius. Right, it's a Spadawai dagger. So it's like Filipino Kali. It means sword and dagger, like the word by itself, not prefix, just sword and dagger. But it kind of amounts to short sword and dagger. So that's what I've put. So you can have the Japanese one, Wakizashi and Tanto. The Western version is various. The most common one is rapier and dagger, but you can have an arming sword and a medieval dagger, a saber and a dagger, a cutlass and a knife. You could, because knife in place of dagger it's a similar kind of effect. If it's like a combat knife or a Bowie knife or a fight style of knife. The Kali version again would be a Filipino short sword with a knife or dagger. It's just a sort of fighting short blade, fighting blade, really. So yeah, a Spadawai dagger from various cultures applied to it. So as I say, Tanto and Wakizashi and with Japanese. Filipino sword in the Kali system. And this just as a sort of experimental archaeology or experimental WMA, really, because these are things no one's ever doing. So's this as a side. I thought that would be interesting in a WMA sparring scenario. Just grab your shoe and throw it, because I don't know, it would just be interesting to have a rule set to do that in. You know, a bit like switching hands. Quite rare that people do that, as well as see in Kali it's called the live hand, which I don't like, whereas in Western martial arts it's called the off hand, which makes more sense because it's the empty hand. So it's very counterintuitive in Kali to call it the live hand. Some people call it Arnes or Eskrima or other stuff, but it's 4 letters, so it's really quick to say, and it's known in the West as Kali. So yeah. Cross training is fine, and cross training works really well with a short sword because of the stick angles. So Gladius, a Copis, a Cutlass, a artillery short sword, anything like that. A Bowie sword, a Bowie short sword, and anything, any type of short sword works really well, whether it's Western or Filipino. For those stick angles, in the translation of stick to short sword translations, technique translations. So and no one's doing as well as not throwing shoes in sparring is the grab with the offhand grab. Yes, okay, people do. They do. I see them. But what they don't do is palm strike or punch or hammer fist or forearm strike like kung fu or Wing Chun or karate. They don't hack with the arm or like Panantukan even. They don't do forearm hack or knife hand or ridge hand, reverse knife, high toe, things like that. They're not engaging the offhand in terms of because it can be quite useful and people just focus only on the blade to the detriment of the offhand. So it can be, as I say, a punch, hammer fist, a chop, reverse chop, palm slaps, palm strike, forearm, just like a chop, but instead of the edge hand, it's the forearm, like a chop, a bump, anything with the forearm, hacking. Really. Yeah. Yeah, and any element of a surprise works surprisingly well, especially as I say, a forearm strike like a Gansau or a Faxau or whatever system it is, whether it's a karate version. These kind of chops with the forearm hacks are really good for, like, if someone grabs your sword, does like a grapple on the sword with a grabbing motion. They're really good, these forearm hits. And also you don't have to be good at them necessarily, because the person will have no idea generally 90% of the time what you're doing, so you'll score points that way under my rule system anyway. As well as this sort of experimental sparring thing. So it was just sort of concepts, and the concepts, as I say, are like sort of playing around with non-mainstream rule set, involving, as I say, like with the offhand, like kung fu or karate type stuff with the hand, like applied techniques, not kata style applied, so it'll look more so-called ugly, but it will be applied stuff, but it'll still be, as I say, like techniques, with the forearm and the offhand, and then just coming up with, as I say, no one's doing that, so I'm claiming that as my sort of invention or whatever in the HEMA thing. I'm not saying no one's ever done it, I'm saying I'm not aware of it, so I'm coming up with it independently or co-independently. So yeah, yeah, and yeah, there's that, and there's Coppice as well, and Felkata, sword machete, or tactical short sword, whatever you want to call it, like a modern sort of version of a short sword. It's like polythene sparring versions and things, or blunted metal replicas, things like that you use in WMA. But as I say, there's the sword machete or tactical short sword as well. These are all things that no one ever does. Just be interesting to do. And yeah, this, and then Copis as well, and Xiphos, the ancient Greek sword, stuff like that. Playing around with that kind of ideas would be really good. So again, just short sword and dagger applied to different things. Cutlass, English tuck and hanger. I've put short messer because some messers can be longish, like 30 plus inches of blade size, which is a bordering on longsword kind of territory. So I'm not classing that style of messer would be more in the long blade category than a short sword classification. So that's why I've put the prefix there instead of the word by itself, because the word by itself would have quite a different meaning to a hyphenated kind of prefix version. But yeah, just rule sets for experimental archaeological Western martial arts, or whatever you call experimental archaeology with WMA. I prefer using the WA term because some of the HEMA factions can be hyper rigid, and like only their version or definition is deemed, worthy or official, and anything outside that is not. So I'm not saying every faction or whatever. I'm not even saying it's majority, but in my opinion, I have witnessed certain factions doing that, and it's not really productive or creative or very healthy mindset for a martial arts system. So, in my opinion, so yeah, I think main thing takeaway, lateral thinking, as I always do. Best weapon in the WMA for Kali, for converts, say people or cross trainers, is Tessac, Dussac, and Cutlass. Or I mean, all short swords, hangers, tuckle, stuff like that. But Dussac and Tessac very translate extremely well to the if you're coming over from Cali. And then just to finish up the video, just general notes from cross training, like the Western, like collar tie and things, and tie collar, plum collar from modern martial arts in no-gi can translate to like the medieval wrestling of like Andre Litske or whatever, Litzinger, and other medieval, Fiore, because it's no-gi, ringing, all stuff like that. It's all kind of there is jackets as well, but there's a lot of no-gi in the medieval wrestling, so you can apply that to like modern collar ties and wrist control and stuff. Yeah, and then obviously that is a sort of an Eastern version of Western pugilism, so they link up in that way. Yeah.